Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mike Kollin at MikeKollin.com. Okay, so there's something that every empath will eventually go through. They will have this moment that seems like the end, and yet it is the first step to true emotional freedom. And that moment is when you finally have had enough. And almost, I've heard it from 3 people in the last 7 days, and over the last 3 or 4 years, I've heard it from dozens of empaths that have gone through this, who found my channel and have contacted me. And that moment is when you literally say, I'm done. I very, very distinctly remember the very moment when it just hit me. It's like, I'm done. And I will tell you this. Number one, I did not quite realize, in fact, not even partially realize, the extent of the level of how done I was. The funny thing is, I remember it impacting everyone around that was in that parking lot. This narcissist had basically just played another game, and I was at a point where I was just like, and what happened was someone walked up who knew them, and they had walked up to me though, why do they keep doing stuff like this to you? And I said, you know what? And I said, I don't know, but I'm done. And it's the way I was like, I'm done. And I am telling you, from my waist, from my solar plexus, there was this expansion, this circle that just exploded all the way out. It went all the way around the earth. And I remember in the parking lot, because you gotta understand, it was about 5 p.m. or 4 p.m., something like that, maybe 3:30. It was in a big city, traffic was going, noise, music was coming from inside. And there was probably about, I don't know, I'm going to guess about 7 or 8 people out in the parking lot, maybe 12, but there were some people out there. And they weren't close, they were kind of often, about 20 feet away, 15, 12. They weren't next to us, and I didn't say it out I said it out loud, but I didn't say it loud. I just remember when I said, I'm done, the person in front of me, it was like the shockwave went through them, and it went through everyone else. And here's the thing, again, I didn't yell it out. I said it about as loud as I just said, like, I'm done. It was about that loud, but it was more solid. It was just like, it was like the final hammer blow for making the tracks, the train tracks. Like, boom, the final nail, the final blow of that nail. It was like, I'm done. And everyone, it's like this circle expanded, and when it went through everyone, they all stopped, they turned, and they looked at me, and they just stared for about 3 or 4 seconds. And the woman in front of me looked at me and looked around. Now here's the deal. I didn't quite realize until, because there was a process over the next 6 to 9 months, maybe more, where I started deleting people out of my life. I started, not the mafia style, the iPhone style. So let's say, okay, for example, when you guys went through that, when you realized you were dealing with a monster, not only that, but you started realizing, like, wow, like you started awakening to the fact, like, holy shit, my family was like this, my friends were like this, these people, this person, that person. You go all the way back to high school, elementary school, middle school, some of your teachers, and you're like, holy shit, like you have this realization. At least for the moment, it truly seemed like the world became dark. Or it seemed like, it became dark. No, you started seeing and again, it's only one side of the world that is dark. Now, the next realization may take a year or two to realize, but you start to go, oh, it's not the whole world, it's not all people. I just happen to have surrounded myself with these dark creatures. So over the next 6 to 9 months, maybe even beyond 12 months, I would go, like, okay, I remember when I first came home, I went to this person that I knew that lived about 15 minutes from me. And I was explaining this. He's like, well, blah, blah. And I realized, like, holy shit, he's doing the same thing. He was basically devaluing everything I was saying. And I start looking at him like, wait, what the fuck's going on here? I'm like, no, you don't understand. And like, oh, Michael, that just sounds weird. Come on, don't you think you're blown out of proportion? But and I looked at him like, holy shit, this guy's a narcissist. So I went back about a week later, a month later, I don't remember what. It was a sunny day. And we were talking, and everything he did was, what's the word, like cutting me down and belittling me. And it's like, here's the difference. Before I said excuse me, before I literally, like, it wasn't just words, it was like something energetic in my body. It was like, I'm done. And it really took me 3+ years to realize what had happened, what it meant, and to what extent. And I had to realize over time, like, oh, so that's what I'm sharing with you now. So when I made that I don't know what you call it, that decision, that realization, it wasn't even like a commitment. It's like, no, I'm done. I just completely, it's like I let go of this freaking rope, this tug of war rope. So I realized as this person was saying all this negative stuff, I remember just going, what the, like, literally, they for the first time in my life, I'm like, well, what's going on? They seemed evil. And I was looking at them like, what the hell? And I would say, why are you talking to me like that? And they'd look at me like, what are you talking about? And the funny thing was they were congruent. They weren't being a smartass. They weren't smirking. They're like, what are you talking about? Like what? So I just kind of went silent. And I said that a couple more times. Like, why did you say that to me? Like, what are you talking about? Mike, what's going on with you? Now, at this point in my journey, I became a very internal being. I was only listening to myself. And so here's the process. Is I was watching them, seeing their body language, their tone, their tempo, their eyes, and like they were very congruent. They're like, well, what's going on? And I'm realizing, holy shit, this person has always talked to me this way for over 10 years. And the next thought that came up, because it was trying to come up while I was doing it, was, oh, they don't mean it. Oh, they're just having a bad day. Oh, Michael, you're just reading into this. Oh, and that's what empaths do. We make excuses for people over and over and over and over. We do it for decades. We do it for almost half a century. And I had become very conscious, like, I'm not doing that anymore. And that's, you know what that is? That's a filter. It's a filter that's in front of your mind, in front of your forehead. So when you hear someone or see someone do something extremely rude and disrespectful, you will make a justification. Well, they didn't mean it. Well, they're better than that. They're probably just having the day. They probably had it. And you make up excuses for them. And here's why. Because in a million years, you as an empath cannot fathom the thought. You can't believe that somebody would be that mean for no reason at all. And when you said, I'm done, you let go of that filter. You made a decision. You were just going to look at it for what it was, plain and clearly, without any filters, without anything interrupting, without anything blocking. You're like, no, I'm just going to see it for what it is. And this is fucked up. And that's what happened. Once you let go of that filter, you started seeing people for who they were, the good and the bad. And that is a very healthy thing to do. Lying to yourself, making up excuses for when people treat you like shit, that is not healthy at all. And that is what destroys your self-esteem. So for a lot of you, if you've been down this journey more than 2 or 3 years, you've noticed like you have a lot more self-respect. You protect that inner being now. You're like, no, this is unacceptable. Nope, I don't let people talk. Nope, I'm done. I'm done. And what you did when you said I'm done, you let go of the excuses. You just started seeing things for the way they are. It was ugly. It was horrendous. The realization that there's this many people that treat other people like shit for no reason other than they just think they can. It made the world look dark. But when you let go of that filter and stop making up excuses for people's bad behavior, you also got to see the good side of the world. You got to see the light. You may not see it for that first 2 or 3 years, that Great Wall of China where you're isolating yourself. Your brain is reevaluating all of your beliefs and all of your rules and the way you looked at things. And it's starting to see things in a much, much clearer light. And that, it's like pulling the shades wide open. You're like, holy shit, there's light out there. Filters essentially are like shades. They block out reality. You're not seeing reality when you filter stuff. So when you filter stuff, you can't see people for who they truly are. And that's what put you in danger. Because you couldn't see who was bad or who was good. You just said, oh, well, I'm going to just say they're all good. And they mean, well, I'm only going to look for good things in what they're doing. It's like, no, you need to see all of them, the good and the bad, and then decide from there. So I went through this, and all of the people who've called me over the last 3 years to work with me, they're like, I don't know who to trust. I don't like, is everyone like this? And so you go through this phase where like you don't know who's good or who's bad or who's who or what's what. But because you dropped that filter, you started seeing all of it. In the beginning, you only see the bad because all of your friends are like, holy shit, all these people are messed up. And the people I associate with. And so you go through a phase where like you're reevaluating all of these people. And then eventually you pop out of it and you start going, oh, wait a minute. This is good. This is bad. This person is light. This person is dark. You can almost see the energy around them. Like there's a light, there's a brightness, but then there's ugliness in this person over here. And the only way you finally got to that point, and again, it's not going to happen the first day you drop this. It's going to take time. But you will begin to see the difference between the good people and the bad people. So one of your filters was a belief. There's another one. You believed as a light worker, empath, open-hearted person, whatever you want to call it, you believed, okay, well, they were just mean to me, so I'm going to be nice in return. And then they're mean to you again. Well, I'm going to be nice in return. And you keep going through this week after week, month after month. Because here's your belief. If I'm nice to them, eventually they're going to realize, well, wait a minute, this person hasn't been mean back. They're just being nice to me. Your belief is eventually, as long as I keep being nice to them, eventually they're going to be nice back to me. And this blinds you to all the pain and suffering that they've put you through, the humiliation, the shame, the belittling, the devaluing, all the stuff they do to you. Until one day you're like, I'm done. And I don't mean just with that one person. You're talking about anybody and everybody. And that's what I realized about 3 years later. Like, holy shit, that expanding circle, when it went all the way around the world, around the globe, it meant everybody. Because the realization I finally came to was, no matter how nice you are to these people, they don't change. When I say like when you're dealing with a narcissist, there's no reasoning with them because they're not connected to the reasoning brain. They're stuck in the lower reptilian brain and they process everything through logic. There is no reasoning there. They block themselves off from the right brain, or they don't have the neurological connections. Now, when I say I say, look, you're not dealing with a normal human. A lot of you might think, oh, he's just being mean. No, I'm not being mean. I am telling you, their brain is not wired and connected the way yours is. It's not wired and connected the way an average person's brain is. They are not like us at all. Their brains are literally underdeveloped. They don't have the same things light up. You know, I'm going to make a note. I believe the next video I'm going to talk about this a little bit. But they're different. Let me just pull some things up. All right, so this is a lady, Sylvia Amy, MS in Psychology, University of Pennsylvania. So she says, there is no scientific evidence to support that narcissistic personality disorder or anything cluster B disorders are the result of damage to the frontal lobes. This is a part of a long-standing debate. She then goes on to say, there's a number of studies, however, that seem to support that over time the narcissist brain undergoes structural changes. These changes affect areas such as the frontal lobe, the amygdala, and the hippocampus. These regions of the brain are associated with object relations, empathy, judgment, impulse control, and emotional regulation. Interestingly enough, there is ample research that demonstrates that changes in the brains of victims of narcissist abuse. So this is why I tell people, like, look, you got to understand, you're different. You're dealing with a different breed. These people are not like us. They don't reason. They don't empathize. They don't care. And to be kind to them, I'm saying they don't care because they can't. It's not in them. It's that part of their brain is not developed. Literally, it's like a muscle that never grew. It was never used. It was never developed for whatever reason. So for those of you who got to that point when you said, I'm done, and it wasn't just verbiage, it was a physical shift. Like you're like, I'm done. What this does is it opens the door for God to take over, because you finally got out of God's way and now you're letting God operate. See, what you were doing was you thought, well, I'm going to help this person, or it's like you don't realize it, but you were playing the tug of war with them. They were trying to pull you over to their side of the brain, to damage your brain, to damage you neurologically and emotionally and physically. And you're trying to bring them over to health and happiness and love and, hey, let's get along. So they were trying to convince you to see the world from the side of darkness, and everyone's bad and everyone's trying to hurt me and everyone's trying to do bad things. And you were trying to bring them over to the other side. Like, no, not everyone's like that. You know, I'm actually being good to you. I'm a good person. And so now you willingly engaged in this tug of war. It's impossible. Nobody wins. Even when the narcissist loses, you lose too. Because you both go over the cliff. This is why, you know, lawyers, you can go to courts, you know, like my mother did it. We lost everything when she divorced my father. My dad's like, you know, we had 2 restaurants in a house. My dad's like, take whatever you want. Just leave me one of the restaurants. You can have the house. You can have the kids. You can have the dog. My dad was like, you can have everything. And that wasn't good enough for my mom. So she's like, no, I'm going to fight you in court. He's like, for what? I'm not fighting you. Pick the restaurant you want and then take the house and have everything else. Just give me one of the restaurants. That's all I want. She fought him in court for years and years and years and years. And she herself even came back after they lost everything. The only thing my mom got out of all of this was she sold the house and got the money for that. Enough money to where we moved to another state where houses were cheaper. And we actually bought a pretty big house. But that was pretty much it. She lost everything, and then she finally admitted, like, all the money went to the courts and it went to the lawyers. Narcissists will literally cut their noses off to spite you. In other words, they will literally lose everything as long as they know that they're damaging you. So here's the deal. When you finally are like, I'm done trying to get these people to like me, and that was the tug of war. You were trying to make them or get them to like you, and that's what you had to let go of. You had to finally realize If someone doesn't like me for who I am, then they can F off. They can just go down their path. That's fine, because I'm done working hard to make people like me. In fact, you really do have to stop doing that. Because you'll start seeing people for who they are and how they treat you. You'll see it for what it is, not what you want it to be. And that's the other thing you have to let go. You've got to stop wanting people to be a certain way or to treat you a certain way. If they're not treating you a certain way, if they're not a good person to you, let them go. Done. Do not try to change them or get them to like you or to be nice to you. It's not going to happen. There's something different in their brain. They are literally neurologically connected differently, and their brain is not developed in these areas. It's not possible. Now they can act, they can really study you and like, what's the right thing to say when? Like, what do I need to say in order for them to believe me? That is their entire life from childhood. I'm talking about 3 years old. They are the masters of watching you, studying you, paying attention to what they say, how that affects you, what works, what doesn't work, why did it work, why did it not work, what's going on. They are really good at telling you, convincing you, and here's the word, acting. They master the art of acting to convince you. Hollywood is loaded with narcissists. These people need attention and admiration because they want people to look up to them. I'm special, I'm a god, I'm a this, I'm a that. That is narcissistic heaven. My point? Narcissists are really, really good actors. It's what they specialize in, even if they're not an actor, even if they never took an acting class. This is who they are and this is what they do. If someone treats you like shit, get away. That's it. So when you stop trying to make excuses for them, talking bad, belittling you, devaluing you, calling you names, when you stop trying to get people to like you, to get them to see, oh, I'm a really good person, when you let all of that go, you literally just stepped out of the way, and now you let God step in. So all your life you're wondering like, well, how come this karma thing doesn't kick in? Why doesn't God do something? It's because you wouldn't let him. You're saying, no, and you were literally pushing him back saying, no, I got this, God. I'm going to get this person to like me. I can do this. Yeah, they're going to like me. They're going to realize I'm a good... When you're doing all that shit, when you're like overlooking the stuff they've done to you, you're blocking God from doing his job. Just let go. Move on. I'm going to tell you what happened in my life. From the very moment I left, things started to happen. All of a sudden, these people in this group, they all were at each other's throat, attacking each other, trying to beat one of the people down so they can treat that person like the empath, like the black sheep that they blame and they shame and they take their anger out on their hate, and it's all their fault. Even if they didn't even work the same, like, I don't even work where you work. What are you mad at me for? And that's what they'll do. It's like, I wasn't even there. Well, it's still your fault. So I got to watch the fall of these people. It wasn't just one group. It was groups of people. I got to watch this. Like, holy shit, people call me like, hey man, have you heard what's been going on? I'm like, no, I'm not. I don't talk to those people anymore. Like, and they would just like lay it out. So these people start to lose their jobs. They start to lose their mind. They start to go, and some of them, well, there's two, but one in particular called me just flat out, said, how could you do this to us? I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, we're at each other's throat. Nobody, and I said, why? And I said, because nobody wants to be at the bottom. They're like, yeah, that's your position. I'm like, no, sorry, it's not. 3 of these people died within 3 weeks of each other. It blew my mind. One was in a car accident. One got attacked on their job. And another one had a physical, I'm not going to go into it, but a physical thing that happened. And they just suddenly died. And I remember before that, just like, I'm done. And I just looked to God like, well, are you going to do something, or is this just going to be my life? And I'm telling you, since that point forward, all these different peoples going all the way back to my childhood have been falling apart, dying, losing this, losing that. And it has been an absolute incredible journey to realize, like, holy shit, all I had to do was get out of God's way. What did God say? Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. Just let go. This was never your battle, but you got in the middle of it. Let it go. Walk and block. Your cutoff game has got to be on point, meaning let anyone go who's belittling you, gaslighting you, devaluing you, playing mind games, any of this stuff. And it doesn't matter if they are or if they're not a narcissist. Let them go. Because only then will the good people come into your life. So you're going to go through a phase like I did. I came home and I went from one person to another, like, holy shit. Like, I started to see the belittling, the devaluing, just the horrible way they were treating me. I was like, what the hell? I got rid of all these people, and I was at a stage where it was just me. Now here's why. Number one, you just said, I'm done with these people. And when you started realizing all these people that were in your life were narcissists, well, you cut them out. So now you don't have the friends you used to have. Number two, there are other people who are good people who have seen you, maybe even talked to you, but then they saw you being around these people that were belittling you or cutting other people down or just had negative energy. Like, yeah, I don't want to get caught up in that. I don't want to get entangled in that energy. So it's not that they didn't like you. They liked you, but they didn't like the people that you were around. And they realized, well, if I start hanging out with this person, I'm going to get caught up with all those other people. And that's going to be a nightmare because I've been through it before and I'm out. So now, me personally, probably a lot of you listening, that this is how I am now. So if I talk to someone and they're around people that are doing drugs or, talking shit or stabbing people in the back, like, yeah, because I know what's going to happen. I'm going to get caught up in that. So I'm out. I'm done. I'm done before I even started. So my point being is, it's not that these people don't like you. They like you, but they don't like the people that you allow in your life. So when your cutoff game gets strong, all of a sudden these people meet you and they notice that either you don't have negative people in your life or the people that you do have are positive. Like, yeah, I'm going to hang out with this person. So you will start gaining friends and they will be better friends. And this is why in the past you go, God, why don't I have any good friends? It's because you're surrounded by all these negative people. So once you say I'm done, you're going to go through the Great Wall of China, which is where you're building your boundaries, healthy, strong, good boundaries, because you're like, no, I don't allow this in my life anymore. And over a period of time, these good people are going to be watching you and noticing this. And after a period of time, like, okay, cool. They finally got out of that bucket of crabs. They're done with those people that are pulling them back down. And now I don't have to go into the bucket of crabs to be their friend. So now I'm going to be their friend. Hey, this is Mike Kollin at MikeKollin.com. Please click subscribe, click the like button, go ahead and make a comment. And if you want, you can go ahead and make a donation. There's a PayPal link right there in the description box right below the video. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.